2018, and I'm so happy to host the very first show for 2018. I'm Bella Networking Guru, and you are watching the Bella Networking Facebook show. I was so determined to have a show today, and I have got a glorious special guest with me. It's actually my grandmother. I wanted to do this show and kick off with a great motivation, and I'm honoured to share my story of my grandmother. She had a dream which came true to become a nurse. So I wanted to share her wisdom and her motivation to help you guys out there that whatever you want to achieve for 2018, it's achievable. So if you're new to my show, please do hit the blue light and write a comment, and I'll be so happy to answer comments after the show. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce my grandmother. Do a big wave. So, Mummy Jem, thank you so much. Look at me now for the show. Thank Mummy Jem so much for coming on my show. So, to share with the audience, how many grandchildren do you have?
I have 6 grandchildren.
And how many great-grandchildren?
I have 6 great-grandchildren. And I'm expecting my first great-great-grand next month.
Wow. How does it make you feel having all these children and great-great-grandchildren?
It makes me feel proud.
Oh, gosh. So, going back in time, your grandmother, how many children did she have?
My grandmother had 17 children.
Oh, my God.
2 sets of twins and 1 set of triplets.
Was there always food on the table then?
Oh, yeah.
It's funny how times have changed, because people are not having 17 kids like they used to, did they?
No, they're not even having 7.
So I was so happy that you agreed to come on my show, look at me, because I wanted to share your story working in the NHS for 32 years and achieving your dream as a nurse. So let's take it back, because my grandmother was born in Guyana, the West Indies, South America. What year did you come to London?
I came to London in 1958.
Right, and that was the year that you decided to actually start the studies to become a nurse in the UK.
That's right.
Great. So I'm wondering, how did you discover and why did you want to become a nurse, if you can remember?
Yes, it's a long-standing ambition of mine since I was a child.
Okay.
Since I was a child,
Yes.
I played nurses and doctors with my siblings.
Yes.
I was the head nurse and my brother was the doctor.
Yeah, put them in order. I'm the head nurse, you listen to me.
Yes.
And that was about, when you were about 11 or
That
so.
was about it. I'm getting to 10, 11, yes.
And you said like something happened with your tonsils and you had to go into hospital.
And when I was about 11 years old, I had this constant pain in my throat and I couldn't swallow.
Yes.
And my mom did all that she could have done to try and remedy it, as they did in those days.
Yes.
But the pain was so severe one afternoon in school that I took myself to the Georgetown Public Hospital.
Yes.
Which was not too far away from the school and not too far away from where I lived.
Yes.
And presented myself and explained to the staff there that I was on my own. My mom was at work. But the pain is so severe. And they booked me, and I saw a doctor who confirmed that I had tonsillitis, had an infection, and that he needed to take the tonsils out. And I said, and what's going to happen? He said, well, they serve no purpose, really.
Right.
And he said, I'm going to admit you. And he inquired whether there was a bed, and I was admitted.
Did you feel scared at all because you were by yourself?
I felt scared, but the doctor and the nursing staff reassured me that they would get a message to my mum as soon as possible to let her know what is happening. And that message got to my mother, and she got there quite early the following morning. When I say early, it's probably about 10, 11 o'clock. But at that time, the surgery had being completed, and I was resting and spitting blood and all
Oh
of
my
that.
goodness.
And he told my mother what the aftercare was,
Yes.
and that everything would be all right.
Mm-hmm.
And I recovered well from the surgery. I spent about 3 days in the hospital and went home.
And what was your experience
And,
when you first saw the nurses then?
When I went home and I started to think about that little journey that I had made, going to the hospital and so on, I saw the nurses' performance and I saw their uniforms. I really liked the uniforms. I liked the pretty apron and the different colors and belts and the nice headgear. And I thought to myself, one day I'll be wearing clothes like these. Yes.
And were you like so certain, I want to be a nurse? Definitely.
I really wanted to be a
Oh,
nurse.
my
I really
gosh.
wanted to be a nurse. I lay in my bed recovering at home, and I could hear patients calling nurses, nurse, nurse. And I thought one day somebody would be calling me.
That's
so that I could help out.
Oh, that is so fantastic. So when you arrived in the UK, where did you start your training? Which hospital, or was it a college?
No, it was, in those days, nurses weren't trained in college. I went to Yorkshire. I started my training at the Netherhedge Hospital in Sheffield, where I did my stint.
Yes.
I did 2 years there, and then I went on to do the additional 18 months, which made me, they say here now, RN. In those days we said SRN. I was a state registered nurse.
So now we say registered nurse.
Now we say RN. Yes.
What, SRN?
SRN.
Oh, okay. And I remember you telling me that you still kept friendship, because that would have been, what, 58, coming up to 1960. You still kept the friendship with some of the friends that you still speak to now. So that's fantastic.
Yes. Those of them who are still on this side of life, I still communicate with.
Excellent.
Yes.
So guys, if you're watching, you were tuned into the Bella Networking Guru show, and I know it's the 1st of January. I host a show every Monday, and I was determined to do this show, and I've chosen my grandmother to be the first guest of 2018. And actually, Mummy Jem, you've inspired me to continue my success and be consistent, because this show actually celebrates a 1 year anniversary. So it's actually great that you are joining me this morning. So when you were in the UK, coming from Guyana and a big transition to a new country, what was your biggest challenge or struggle when you came over to the UK?
It was a new life, a new way of living. The challenge was the cold. It was very cold.
Oh, right. What year? What month was it? September?
When I came here, it was late September. And what I never understood was walking the streets of Yorkshire and seeing all the smoke coming from the different buildings. And I just kept wondering to myself, why is this? And it wasn't only smoke. The whole place looked so grotty to me. And I thought, why did I come here? Maybe there must be a nicer place in the UK that I could have gone to.
So did you experience thick fog when you put your hands out and you don't see your hand?
Not only thick fog. I mean, it got so cold that you're afraid to touch your hair, because there was a saying that if you touch your hair, your ear, it's going to fall off. Or if you could touch your nose, it's going to fall off.
I think the millennials and youngsters don't appreciate the cold when it was in the old days, because we do get the cold weather, but not what you experienced back then. So I have to take my hat off to you. But during the journey of studying in the UK, coming over to the UK, with the different challenges you have, did you have any moments when your dream felt too far away, or you didn't feel motivated, that you couldn't achieve the dream as a nurse?
No. Motivation was always there. I never lose the motivation. I kept saying to myself, I've come this far, and one day, one of these good days, I would have achieved all that I would have liked to have achieved. and go back to the West Indies.
Wow.
Go back home.
That's
Yes,
so mesmerizing.
yes.
And you know, it makes me feel good as well, because sometimes I wonder where my fight comes from, and it's from my elders such as you guys.
Yeah.
So in total, how long did you work for the NHS?
I worked for about 38 years.
Wow.
I've worked for the National Health Service.
Wow.
38 years.
Wow. And during that time, you decided to specialise in mental health.
Yes.
And why did you make that choice?
Well, having completed my training, which was a lot of training, because I did the general nursing, I did mental nursing, I had the midwifery experience, and I did a course in drug and substance misuse. This means drug and alcohol and other substances. And I felt that I needed to give more to mental health. I realized at that time that at times patients were being overlooked.
Right.
And that enough medical time wasn't given to them.
Right. So, gosh, it's even worse, obviously, then than it was now. Because even now, people suffer mental health, as you know, is still being overlooked. So it must have been even worse.
That's right.
Okay.
And more so when drug addiction became rife, very rife. And there were very young people taking drugs, young women and young men. When I looked at some of the young women that came into the accident and emergency department that were drug users, I thought, well, this could be my child.
Okay.
You know, and I did my best to try and help out. And having done the diploma in drug and substance misuse, I had a better understanding of what was going on with the drugs, how people became addicted to drugs, how long the addiction could last, sometimes forever it could last. And then some of the young women got pregnant, and that posed a problem for the young woman and for the staff, the nurse who was in charge, because most of the professionals would say, oh, put the child into care, oh, put the child into care. But I think that because I was also a mother, I fought the end for them, especially when on observation I feel that with assistance that this mother would do well and really would like to care for her child. So this fight took me to many places. It took me to the courts in London, it took me to the courts in Sheffield, it took me to the courts wherever the mother came from, along with social services. Because my fight was not with the medical profession. My fight at the time was indirectly with social services. I felt that some women needed to be given the right to care for their children with supervision and assistance.
Wow.
And that was my battle.
So you've probably seen so many changes.
I've seen too many changes.
It's so delightful to hear that, you know, you were on the mother's side, regardless of prejudice, probably more at that time, a mother that's an addict or a mother that's going through mental health.
Yeah, but then, you know, one was able to, and I'm speaking for myself, but I think that I'm speaking for others as well who worked in this field. You're able, that on observation, to make a decision whether this woman is capable of being a mother or not. Has she got this maternal feeling? Yeah, is she just leaving the child to cry and can't be bothered? But you know, I have seen women who nurtured their children, and I felt that, you know, they have a right to take their child home. You know, with supervision.
Yes. Guys, have you just tuned in? You are watching the BellaNetworking Guru Facebook show, and the show is live. I'm here every Monday, 12:15. And yes, I know it's bank holiday, New Year's Day, but the show must roll. And I have a splendid guest with me, which is my grandmother, who's talking about her goal to become a nurse. And I felt it would be just really nice and poignant to have this on New Year's Day to motivate you to achieve whatever you want for 2018. So I'd love to hear, what are your goals for 2018? Why don't you hit the comments and share? And if you like the show, then please do a blue tick. We're talking about the goal and dream that my grandmother had as a nurse when she travelled to the UK in 1958, working tirelessly and ambitiously for the NHS for over 38 years. So thank you for sharing that you wanted to niche into mental health and drug addiction. Could you share some of your experiences in the early days with the AIDS epidemic? Because I know you also said you travelled sometimes in the night time handing out condoms.
I did.
So that will be interesting to learn.
I did, yes. Well, that was not only an education, it was an experience.
Right.
Because in those days, not a lot was known about the AIDS virus, the HIV virus.
So were you there when it just started to come into play?
I was there when the bubble burst, and they talked about AIDS coming to England via Africa. There's people eating monkey brain and all manner of things that cause HIV.
And it came from the army, the soldiers from the army.
That's right. But time has moved on.
But there was also more prejudice at that time. They didn't want to touch patients, isn't it?
No, you had to be gloved up and gunged up and all of that. I mean, I've been through those days where you're gunged up and gloved up.
There must have been prejudice for those that had the AIDS.
That's right. And but as I said, time has moved on. We have all learned more. Medical professions have learned more. Nurses have learned more. And we know that the only way that you could get the HIV virus is by direct contact with the person. Either sexual contact or blood transmission or blood transfusion or using a dirty needle.
Sure.
We all know that.
Sure.
Yes.
And how was it organised when you did your rounds in the night time handing out condoms?
I did my rounds I teamed up with the John Hunter Clinic. I think they'll be pleased to hear me say this. I was one of the first nurses, their specialists, to join up with them. And they informed me, you'll have to do the rounds just as how we do it.
Wow.
We do it so many nights a week. And so I said, yes, I'm willing. And I got all these condoms were given to me that I kept in my car boot. And we went out in pairs or in threes. People come with me into my car, or I go with them into their car.
Was it dangerous at all?
It was very dangerous because you're going on the street. You know, you're like a pimp. You're pimping people out.
Really?
And in those days, the policemen were very prevalent on the road. You had easy access to them, and all we did was to inform them where we'll be working on that evening. We worked from, I think, 8 until 2 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
And we see people there, young women and men that are selling their bodies for money to buy drugs. And you kind of approach them softly, gently, and say, I'd like to have a chat, show my credentials. And one had to be careful as well, because being black didn't really help. You come in to tell me about condoms and all of that. So you first have a nice, gentle conversation. Try and invite them to listen to what you have to say. Show them your credentials and say, I'm not here to get you into any trouble, but I'm here to help you health-wise.
Wow.
I'm a nurse, and this is what I do, and so on.
Wow.
And, you know, people stop and listen to you, or come and say, well, thanks for coming. Even though sometimes when you hand out the condoms, you have the feeling, oh, they'll never use it, because they've already told me that I get paid more for doing my job without a condom. And I'm saying to them, you may get paid more, but the money you get cannot buy your health. So go away and think about it, but still here are a few condoms.
Wow.
And you go off and leave them. And funny enough, that, you know, they after a while, they miss seeing us.
Oh,
if
nice.
If we're not working like for 2-3 nights, and you turn up again and say, but you know, where were you the other night? Are you not well? You know, are you on holidays or something? And then I got the feeling, we're getting through here to this group.
Oh, good.
And we're going to move. And then you say to them, we're going to move on to another group.
Good.
We'll be doing Piccadilly such and such a night and things like
good.
that.
Because I was going to ask you, being so heavily involved and routine nights, if you saw regular faces throughout your time?
So regular people.
Okay.
And sometimes in the days you're out shopping and you're in the supermarket
Okay.
and there's just nursing, nursing.
That's so sweet. Oh, that's fantastic.
Yes, yeah. We made lots of friends, but we made quite a few enemies.
Yeah, I could imagine.
Yes.
So now, fast forward, you're enjoying your retirement.
I am.
And a grandmother of many grandchildren and great-grandchildren.
I'm now 81, and
Wow.
I have all these grandchildren and great-grandchildren, and expecting my great-great-grand quite soon, and enjoying my retirement.
Oh, that's beautiful.
I do a lot of voluntary work now. I work for Age UK. I work for the British Heart Foundation as a volunteer. I work in a department that says fight for every heartbeat. I work with the diabetic clinic at times, just giving advice on their information counter and so on. This is what I do. I'm a health professional.
Oh, I really admire you for also keeping busy as well.
Yeah.
I want to just take you back before we close the show, which I really want to raise the importance of the feeling of success. Having achieved your 38 years, if you go back to the first graduation you had, which was, I think, a few years after you came to the UK, and your mother came, and my grandfather, who's your husband, that day when you graduated and they called your name, how did it make you feel knowing that you achieved your qualification as a nurse?
It made me feel as though I'd climbed the highest mountain in the world, and that what I had set out to do was achievable, and I have achieved it with great success. My mother, we brought my mother here on holidays at the same time because it was my graduation. She wasn't aware of it, and we took her the night.
Oh, she was surprised.
Yeah, we took her in the afternoon to the graduation ceremony where they distributed the certificates and the badges and so on. And when my name was called, and it wasn't only called, a lot of compliments followed the calling of my name. And the hospital I worked for at the time, which was St. James in Balham, where I did my midwifery, and they said that we have Mrs. Jem Wason here. My husband was there. My sister, my mom was there. And I could look from the stage and see my mom doing this. And then they said this. They simply turned around and said that she's taking the gold medal. She's not only a nurse, she's a housewife. She's not only a housewife, she's a mother. And we congratulate her. So I took the gold medal that year for St. James's Hospital.
Absolutely. And what were your grade achievements as well, the results of your exams?
I brought first.
Wow.
I brought first. I came
That's
first.
amazing.
I surprised myself. I surprised myself.
Oh, that's so fantastic.
But
to hear.
I just want to say that, I'm sure that we all have dreams. And we should never become despondent and say to ourselves, oh, I'll never achieve this. Where there's a will, there's a way. And anything is achievable if you would like to achieve it. And don't ever give up on your dreams.
And with that note, I think that's a blessed way to end the show. And I wish everybody a happy new year and best wishes for 2018.